This is a controller, a waifu anime controller. If you want this controller, you are either a preteen girl or a weeb. And I'm not a weeb, I'm a dweeb. Can't you read the sign? Oh, wait a second. TechDweeb. Maybe, just maybe. Hello there, I'm TechDweeb. Welcome. Thanks for clicking on the video today. And yeah, this is an anime thing, an anime controller. I'm going to start off by coming clean. I am not a weeb. I'm not an anime guy. I've enjoyed some anime in the past. I was a big fan of Akira and the original Ghost in the Shell back in the day. Oh, I do love me some Studio Ghibli. Spirited Away is one of my favorite movies of all time. But I don't watch anime on a regular basis. I don't follow any of the popular shows or movies or other media. I'm just not the right audience for something like this. This anime waifu controller. On paper, it's not really something I'd be interested in. But you know what? I kinda love it. The Mytrix Touro Pro RGB controller is a wireless controller compatible with Nintendo Switch, PC, Android, and iOS. Its main feature is that it has a waifu on it. Am I saying that term right? I didn't really know what it meant, to be honest. I looked it up before making this video. If you don't know, it means like a fictional wife, like a girl you pretend you're married to that doesn't actually exist. So in that regard, this girl on this controller, she's not my waifu. She never will be, because there's only one waifu for me. But this controller has more than non-Lara Croft waifus. It features a classic Xbox shape and layout, programmable buttons on the back, turbo function, on-the-fly macros, 6-axis gyro control, a headphone jack with mic support, adjustable vibration for your sensitive vibration needs, and enough RGB to bottle flip a raccoon. The company that makes this, Mytrix, they make a whole bunch of unique controllers, mostly for the Switch. They offered to send me one, and I looked on their website, and this is the one that stuck out to me, so I picked this one. And I only agreed to show it in a video, but I thought it was cool enough and unique enough that I wanted to do a dedicated review video. So that's what we're gonna do right now, in fact. This is that video. Imagine that. Before we get to the review, let's do an unboxing. You like unboxings, don't you? Yeah, you do. Well, I already unboxed it. I was just too eager to meet my new waifu, so I'll rebox it for you, just because I'm a professional like that. There we go, all boxed up, good as new. Okay, so in the box, we get the controller itself, and a USB-C cable and a word paper. That's it? That wasn't really worth doing an unboxing, huh? Okay, moving along. First, let's talk about the hardware. And there's lots to talk about here. First, mostly, we have the waifu herself. I'm not sure what kind of printing method they use to get this on here, but it's super high quality. There's no visible ink or decal edge. I've been rubbing on it for various reasons, and it hasn't come off at all. It feels like it's part of the plastic itself, and the print quality is outstanding. It has super fine details and no visible printing artifacts. This is the way to do it. If you're gonna put some printed stuff on your controller, at least take the care to do it right. And for the hardware, I guess, the sticks are okay. They have rubber thumb grips and they feel tight. In the hand, they feel good, but there's an issue with the directionality. They tend to snap to the cardinal directions, and not a crazy amount, but just a bit. And that's not terrible. And in some games, this is actually preferred. In most retro games, like games you would play with a D-pad, but you're playing them with a joystick, that's where you want this behavior. But for more precise dual stick games, like maybe FPS games, you'll find that it feels a bit snappy. That said, the joysticks do feel good in the fingers, and I have no problem using this even for games that require precision. It's just not as precise as I'd like. The D-pad is great. It's a full circular D-pad, which lots of people don't like, but I love it. It has just the right feel. The whole D-pad pivots like one big button, and it makes it super easy to do like special moves in fighting games, for instance. No false diagonals either. You should have no problem using this D-pad for retro games. The face buttons are really, really lovely. That's right, I called them lovely. Look at them. They're so freaking lovely. They're clear, but they have the printed buttons underneath so you can see down into the inside of the buttons. And they light up. They look like glowing jewels, and they're lovely as heck. And the bumpers and triggers are good. They're kind of soft and quiet, but I like the feel of them. However, the triggers are not analog triggers. They're just buttons. So that's another downside right there. And then, since this is a Switch style controller, we have plus and minus buttons, which can be start and select if you're using this in Xbox mode. And we have a home button, which could be the guide button. And we have 4 unique buttons. Around back, we have these 2 paddle buttons, and you can bind these to be any other button or macro. I'll show you that in a bit. And we have a turbo button and a capture button. So I like the controls. They're solid, but there's a few missteps with this one, and that's a bit of a bummer. On to the actual special functions of this thing, because this is where it'll make up for some of the missteps, because we actually get some extra features that are genuinely super useful, and I've really enjoyed having them. Let's start with the dumb stuff first, the RGB controls. The manual tells you all the hotkeys for the controller, by the way, in case you need to know what does what. We have 3 different RGB lighting methods, a sort of rainbow cycle thing, which is what I like. I think it looks amazing. And we have a color pulse thing, and we have a solid color. And you can change the color to set it to your favorite color. And you could turn off any lights you want. You could turn off the buttons separately, or you could turn off all the RGB lights. There's a headphone jack, but you'll need to have it connected via USB in wired mode if you want to use that. However, it does support both audio and microphone, so you can totally use this with your headset, both on PC and the Switch. Here's a chart to show you what functions you get on whichever system. And then these paddle buttons on the back, we can set those to be whatever button we want. And you can do it on the fly. Hold down the macro hotkey and then press the button that you want, and then press the paddle again, and it'll set that button. But that's not all. You can actually do entire macros, any sequence of keys. So you can actually program those to be a special move in a fighting game, for instance. And we also have turbo functions. So just hold down the button and press the turbo button, and it'll turn on the turbo mode for that button. So you can hold that button and it'll give a rapid spam of the button. And then if you do it again, it'll stay on, so you don't even have to hold it. If there's like a clicker game, or if you just have to push the same button like 1,000 million times, you could just use this turbo function, and then you can disable it right on the fly just as easily. And I should mention that we get motion controls, but only when the controller is in Switch Pro mode. And you can adjust the vibration intensity. So if you're feeling a little sensitive, you could turn that vibration right down so it's not too stimulating. But if you're really in the mood, you can crank it right up and get a nice strong vibration sensation from your Waifu. The controller can connect to anything, really. It does Switch, Windows, Xbox, iOS, and Android. Really anything that can take a Bluetooth controller, it should be fine with. You'll need to set it to the proper pairing mode, which you can do with the connect button. For example, if you want to pair it with the Switch, you just hold the sync button. And if you want it in Xbox controller mode, you hold down the sync button with the X button. And then it'll connect to the Xbox or the PC over Bluetooth. That's what I've been doing, although I did play with it connected to my Switch as well, just to test it out, and it worked great in both situations. Using this controller has been really enjoyable. It's a wonderful shape. It really fits nice in my hands. It's very similar to an Xbox One design, but there's just something about the shape that feels different in my hands. Different in a good way. The plastic has a great velvety smooth feel, and the buttons and sticks feel great under my fingers. I just love having my hands on this thing. I like the RGB effects a lot. They make the controller feel more unique than just a printed plastic shell, but I tend to turn the brightness down on the RGB because I find bright RGB pretty distracting, especially in a dim room. The extra features of the functions and the hotkeys and stuff are awesome to have, and this thing is full of them. I love that they're all so easy and intuitive to change on the fly. If you want to be able to really quickly enable turbo or set a macro, You can do it while you're gaming so you don't have to futz about with other software or whatever. It's all done on the controller itself. This thing, it works great no matter what you have it connected to. I tried it on my Switch and it worked great there, obviously. For most Switch games, I don't miss the lack of analog R and L triggers. I'm sure some people might. For me though, it's been good to go. And retro handhelds too. I often like to hook these up to a monitor to play in docked mode, and since this controller is Bluetooth, it works fine. I can connect it to any Bluetooth device and it's detected as an Xbox controller and it works great. But I've mostly been using it on the PC. It hasn't replaced my main controller on my battle station, but it's been my go-to gaming controller when I'm testing games on various other PCs or devices for videos. Not because of how well it works. It does work well and it's snappy and responsive and the controls feel great to me. I'm not a controller snob though. I like lots of stuff, including some pretty cheap controllers. So maybe don't trust my word if you're going to be picky about this. But I know when a controller feels bad. If it has latency or the buttons don't feel right or if it has input issues. And I gotta say that even though this is a cheesy waifu themed controller for preteen girls, I keep grabbing this thing and enjoying my time with it. I would feel a little embarrassed if I whipped this controller out in public or brought it to a buddy's house, but in the comfort of my home or here on YouTube between you and me, I actually kinda like it. Just don't tell Laura, okay? Well, I guess that's it. That's all there is to say about it. It's a good controller. It has a few shortcomings, but it looks unique. It has RGB. It has good extra features, and I think it's neat. I'll include a link to this in the description below if you want to pick one up. And that brings us to the end. This was my first ever controller review, so let me know how I did. Is there anything I missed that I should have talked about, or did I not explain things good, or what? And if you want to see more of this sort of thing, I get offers from companies offering to send me controllers all the time, so I could definitely do more of them. Let me know if you'd actually want to see more of this sort of thing. If you enjoyed this video, then maybe check out this video, where I show you my favorite Steam Deck accessories, including my all-time favorite controller. There's a link on the screen right now and in the description below. And that's it from me. I'm TechDweeb. Thanks for watching. Bye-bye.